Greetings from Kingston on this overcast day, and I've been keeping my walking going since I was in the grill, so I felt like I'd keep doing more of these videos, you know. And I watched something recently that I found very interesting about Steve Harvey. You know, Steve Harvey, as many know, a world famous comedian, and he's had this video that's been going around for some time where he talks about your gift. And he says what will make things happen in your life is your gift. And he talks about, there's this clip that was circulating, and he gave examples of like a barber who's a multimillionaire and a landscaper who was a kid, and all he used to do is cut grass, and everybody used to call him Hedges and tease him, but no, he's a landscaper who earns millions a year. And he was talking about your gift. And recently I watched this video with Steve Harvey and a guy named Grant Cardone, who's a billionaire real estate investor, right? And he broached the topic of your gift again, but he kind of put a little bit more information on it, which made me think, is Steve Harvey correct? So he defines your gift as that thing that you do effortlessly. Like it comes to you almost effortlessly. And you can do it all day and it just comes to you easily. And he says for some people that's frying chicken. For some people that's training other people. For some people that's cutting grass or landscaping. For some people it's coming up with ideas. For some people it's just understanding complex data and how to explain that to people. I think that's one of my gifts, right? So he was saying some stuff that I'd heard, defining the gift and so on. But then he said something really interesting, where he says, your gift will make room for you. And your gift will put you in the presence of powerful men. And in life, so many of us have unexpressed gifts. Or we have gifts that we've used to a certain degree, but we've never gone beyond that. Like, we've never hit the zenith of where a gift can take us. And some of us are multi-talented people with very strong gifts in different areas that, again, we've never taken to the highest logical point. And the reason why I was asking, is Steve Harvey correct, is because there's a caveat to the statement. The gift will make room for you if you use it in a certain way, right? It will make room for you if you use it in a certain way. But what it made me think about was proximity. Now, when I did this course called UPW, which is Unleash the Power Within, with Tony Robbins, I think I did 2021, he says that proximity is power. Because he's, in one of his stories, he told about one trip he took where he was with these 6 high net worth individuals who he took a trip with when he was like young and coming up in the game, you know, making a couple million, but he wasn't where he's now, right? And he says from that trip, he ended up making a deal worth $300 million a long time ago. And he said it would never have happened if he wasn't in the proximity of these guys, right? So when I was watching the Steve Harvey thing, I said to myself, your gift will make room for you if you have the right proximity to the things you're trying to create. Even to them, doctor. If you have proximity to what you're trying to create, your gift will make room for you. But the question is, can your gift make room for you without certain kinds of proximity? And this is what gets interesting, because to me, proximity is either something you fall into by luck, like you just happen to be around people who notice your gift, or proximity is something that you create. Yeah, I was walking past some noise. Alright, so I do believe that proximity is something that you need to create. And I think depending on what your gift is, right, you're going to need some proximity sometimes for it to make room for you and put you in the presence of powerful men. And I'm going to give you 2 examples, right? The first is of a friend of mine, brilliant poet and writer and speaker, right? who is now doing like this amazing fellowship, one of the most competitive writing fellowships in the world she's doing right now, right? And I mentioned this to her the last time I talked to her. And I said, you know, your gift has made room for you, because the writing internship that she does is not something that you apply for. People apply for you, or basically nominate you as a candidate because of your previous work history. So she was in the proximity of people who valued her to such a degree that they nominated her for this amazing scholarship that she got selected for. So her gift is definitely making room for her, and it is now putting her in the presence of powerful men and women who can help her to rise to a much higher level than she probably could just here in Jamaica, right? So her gift has made room for her. And to me, everything she's done before and having the proximity is what has given her this opportunity. When I think of myself, I always remember this one instance when I had the chance to work in New York at an internship that I got with Comedy Central. And I was fortunate when I was in university to be selected as one of six people in the US picked for this thing called a Chris Rock internship. And Chris Rock had made an internship with Comedy Central to give minorities an opportunity to enter the comedy world, because, you know, it's mostly like a Caucasian Jewish world that really runs the comedy scene. And I applied for the internship and I got it. We were called Rock Turns because, you know, it's Chris Rock internship. And I remember there's one day during the internship, because we were cycled through different departments, and I was in the writing department, and, you know, they're telling us about ads and advertising. And John, I don't remember his last name, you know, had a meeting with me and a guy, one of the interns named Reggie, in the morning. And he said, hey guys, you know, we have Scrubs that airs from 6 to 8 p.m. and we need some ads for Scrubs along these lines and these themes, right? And then he's like, all right, you know, you guys can go work on that. So when he told us that, we had a meeting like about 9:30 a.m. And I came back to him like, I think midday, with 30 ads, or 30 plus ads. And he was shocked. And he was like, Marcus, listen to me. He's like, there's only one other person I've ever seen do what you just did. And he walked me over to another section of the office that I hadn't been to yet. And then he showed me this guy's office. And it's like, really cool looking office. You know, there are comic books on shelves, action figures, you know, in the plastic. And the guy sitting and working in there has like Edward Scissorhands here, and just looks like a serious, like, zany, creative person, right? And I looked at that guy and I said, that's one of me right there. That's the first time I saw a person like myself, meaning someone who probably thinks and functions like me without me knowing it, right? And in that moment, my gift was making room for me, because one of my major gifts is writing, and particularly comedy. And my gift was making room for me. And I was in the proximity of someone who recognized it. Now, to me, that's just normal. You know, they say make some ads. I just make as many ads as quickly as possible because I want to save people time. But I didn't realize that that's not normal or easy. The average person can't just sit down and come up with 30 ads like that, right? And all the way until the end of the internship, he kept saying, Marcus, you don't understand how phenomenal that was. And unfortunately, I couldn't stay at Comedy Central because that was around the time like all the markets crashed a couple years back, and they had a hiring freeze. So right as the internship ended, the guy wanted to hire me, but he couldn't, right? But I got the experience of being in the proximity of somebody who understood my value. All right. So, is Steve Harvey correct? I think he's absolutely correct. You know, that your gift will make room for you. But I think the caveat is that you have to understand that if you're not in the proximity of people who can make room for you or who understand your value, then you can't grow, right? And sometimes that proximity has to be made. And that's a trick. Doesn't mean you have to go somewhere. Doesn't mean you have to apply for a scholarship or an internship or pitch an agent or something. That's the thing I don't know. And that's where it gets difficult. That's where perseverance comes in. Because it's not just your gift. Because if I'm in a room with 10 people that are like world famous chefs, they're all gifted cooks. But how does my talent stand out? Do I have to specialize? You get me? Do I have to have like a powerful backstory, a different kind of restaurant? You understand what I'm saying? So I think this is a very good thing to think about, because for me specifically, that is one of my biggest issues, is that I'm always around people in their proximity who don't understand my true value. And because of the multifaceted nature of my abilities, it's sometimes hard to explain to people just how powerful certain things that I'm able to do are. Even if I've worked on campaigns, or I show people my books, or show them that I've, won writing awards or done highly competitive internships, especially in Jamaica, you're not gonna meet people who are like, we need that guy, right? It's just not like that here. And it's always left me in a little bit of a limbo, because one, you meet people that generally don't value your talent, and two, don't want to pay for it. Not really, In Jamaica, we see people always screaming and bawling about paying you. And it's unfortunate, But your gift will make room for you. But I also think the most important thing, I've reached my goal. This is the 1 mile mark. And then I spin around, I go back 2 miles for the day walking. So I touch this thing here. Boom. So I believe that proximity is like the biggest part of it, because right now I'm trying to figure out my proximity. You get me? I'm like, where do I need to go? Where do I need to be? What do I need to do? Who do I need to reach out to? Because nowadays we have like an overload of information. You have courses, you have master classes, you have, guides, you have strategies on the internet. Do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. Work online, work from home, work remotely. Do this hustle, do that hustle. Teach lessons, create courses, build a product. There are all these things you can do, but it is very noisy, even if you have the talent or the gift. And what I find is that you can get lost in that noise for years. You can take courses for years. You can take master classes for years. You can join masterminds, and you don't really grow if you don't take certain kinds of massive action. So I think that your gift definitely can take you to places that you never imagined, right? But you need proximity to the people and things that will expose your gift, right? Show its value, and then have others want to utilize you. And when I say proximity, I don't mean you need to be right beside these people. You don't have to be in the proximity of a person who's literally in front of you. Proximity is more like, if I'm putting my stuff on YouTube or marketing it to certain channels, it may reach the kinds of people that may be able to help me. You see me? Hold on, I'm tired. Whew. Yeah, so proximity is basically a soapbox. What soapbox are you using that announces or says, I'm this person, here I am? A good example is Issa Rae, back in the day, where she did this web series, The Awkward Black Girl, that she produced using, a DSLR, about being an awkward kind of black woman in the States. And it was a phenomenon that now has her as one of, the top talents in Hollywood. She's an outlier to an extent, but she created proximity by creating a TV series that encapsulated everything she was and then put it out there. So sometimes the gift and creating proximity is a trick, but I think if you find it, you're good to go. So for years I had my YouTube web series and these kind of things, but I don't always think I integrated everything properly. Meaning, I never spoke about my art and my writing as a part of my overall narrative. You get me? So I'd say, hey, here's my life, or here are the things I do, but I realized I never really got in depth with things that would create more proximity. You get me? Where I'm just like, okay, this is one of my shirts, and let me talk a little bit about why I started designing, or why I did this, or why I did that. You get me? So I think Steve Harvey was correct on I think definitely one of the main things to do if you have your gift is that you know what your gift is, most people do, and it can create room for you, and it will put you in the presence of powerful people. But I think you have to create proximity, but not just proximity. I think once you have the proximity, you have to kind of know your action plan, right? So, for example, I just finished creating my portfolio website, because for years I haven't had a personal portfolio site, and I created a site where when you look on it, you see everything I've done, from ad campaigns to my own designs to my book writing to photography and all the projects I've worked on with people like Sean Paul and other artists. I just have it in one place. So if I send this to somebody, at a glance they'll have a sense of who I am and my value. And it's either yes or no. You get me? So instead of me having to explain myself, my value is right there. So by creating this portfolio site, I'm creating a form of proximity, because when this goes to certain people, they will immediately know if they want to work with me, as opposed to previously where I'd send an email showing some previous work, but they wouldn't get a sense of who I am. You understand? So I think Steve Harvey was right. Your gift will make room for you, and it will put you in the presence of powerful people, but you have to create proximity and you have to take action. Because right now in my life, I have attempted to, let's give you some of the broad strokes. I've applied to multiple graduate programs over the last decade, trying to get into a writing program because I wanted to be around my writing community. That didn't work out. I've applied to the Mambuka Gakusho Scholarship, which is called the MEXT Scholarship, which is funded by the Japanese government, where you can study for Japan, paid for by the Japanese government. And I was like, you know what, I have a brand idea and I wanted to study it. I'm a designer. That didn't work out. I tried working with marquee artists with the intentions of probably doing travel photography and stuff. I did tons of event photography. I did all kinds of things over the last 15, 20 years that I was trying to use to put me in the right proximity. You get me? I've entered competitions. Like I said, I want to trip around the world, but then I couldn't go. You know what I mean? I've done all these different things, and every time I feel like I'm getting some proximity, sometimes it slips from my fingers. So for me right now, the mission, in addition to knowing what my gift is and trying to get in the right proximity, is the right action plan. Where do you fit? And I think this is the thing that Steve Harvey didn't go into or couldn't go into. But it's where is that going to be for me, right? Where am I going to go to make sure that I'm in proximity with tons and tons of the right people, right? So that's the thought. And once I figure that out, I think I'll be good to go. All right, that's it for today. Bless up.